Hey, real quick, check out my Instagram, e.thecomsguy, and subscribe to my YouTube, RobbArmstrong, all one word. What's up? What's going on? Welcome to the channel. This is the first episode of GunTalk. I've been wanting to do this series for a long time. I'm ready to get it started. Let's get it going. Check out the intro.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time. We
Please tell me y'all was feeling that introduction. I know the music was kind of dramatic. I was just trying to set the mood for y'all because like I said, this is the first episode of GunTalk. Today, we're gonna be talking about running and gunning or shooting and moving. I was really undecided as to what I was gonna make the first video on. The reason why I chose this because this is usually what I get the most questions about. People ask me, how did I get into it? Where do I go shoot? And how do I practice? How do I train? And pretty much what to expect when you're doing something like that, shooting and moving. So me, I consider myself a shooter. And a shooter just meaning, I just like to shoot. Whether it's inside, outside, paper, steel. I like all kinds of shooting. If I'm putting bullets down range, that's where I feel comfortable. That's where I'm at home. The thing that I like about shooting outside or running and gunning the most is just, it's a culminating event. It's like there's all these different things that I practice and I train or I see and I mimic. And at that time, I could put it all together. It's just the perfect time to execute. Shooting outside, I say the biggest thing is just, the biggest difference is just being aware of your surroundings. Because usually when you're shooting inside, you're in a small little confined space or a stall, and you pretty much just know what your objective is right in front of you. You can't really roll left, roll right, and then the target's usually on a carrier, it's usually going down range or coming back towards you. But when you're outside, you have bigger limits, bigger left limit, bigger right limit, and then the range is, it could be 25 yards, it could be 100 yards. It really just depends on the range. And then you got obstacles as well. Obstacles, it could be dips in the ground, it could be gravel, it could be sand, it could be grass, it could just be brass from expended ammo. So the biggest thing when it comes to running and gunning is just being aware of your surroundings. So for me, I know the first thing I usually do is just kind of get a lay of the land, kind of see what's out there, what do I need to pay attention to. And then once I kind of got a feel for it, I kind of prepare myself on what to expect. Like the B-roll from the B-roll from the video that I shot as the intro came on, right? There's a lot of brass all over that range. So I already expect to be kind of slipping or kind of worry about how I brace myself when I'm coming to a halt, or if I'm trying to shoot around a car, or I'm trying to jump behind a barrier or a barricade. That's just things I kind of like mentally prepare myself for going into a scenario like that. So I usually tell people just be aware of your surroundings, you know? The next thing as far as like when you're shooting and moving is just, you gotta be comfortable, you know? I've shot with some police people, I shot with some SWAT folks, I shot with some military people, I shot with some civilians, and the biggest thing for me is there's a lot of times I'm shooting with people who shoot way better than me or just have way more experience. So regardless of whatever they're teaching me or whatever they're telling me, I always try to make sure that I feel comfortable first. And I'm a questions guy. If they tell me or give me a block of instruction and I'm not sure, I got a question about it, I just ask them the question like, hey, are you sure? We're gonna go 5 yards. We're gonna shoot one shot, then we're gonna reload, holster. You know, just be comfortable. You know, because the biggest thing with anything related to guns is safety. You know, and if you're not comfortable, you're probably not gonna be safe. So being aware of your surroundings, get comfortable, be safe. Also shooting and moving. If you want to get into that, I would highly recommend that you try to find somebody that does things like that, or you go to a range where they have a range safety officer who can kind of either give you a block of instruction or kind of just watch you or coach you or mentor you along to get you back to that getting comfortable. And then once you get comfortable, you can kind of do what you want, set up your own drills, and you know, kind of go on the fly. You know, once again, the video from the intro, that's just me on the fly. You know, me and my buddy, we came there, we rented out a bay, and I think we was on the range for, man, I think like 6 hours, and all we did was just set up different targets. You know, this range specifically had a bunch of steel. I like steel, but I like paper as well. And the differences between the two is that when you're shooting steel, you get that audible feedback. You know, ain't nothing like hearing that bing, bing, bing whenever you hitting your target. But then also, like, let's say the steel plate is 8 inches, 8 inches. When you hit the target, you don't really know where you hit on the target. You just know you hit the target. So, I mean, that's good and that's bad. And when you shoot paper, of course, you don't get the audible feedback, but you get to see specifically where you hit on the target. And I really like that because it makes you be accountable and you can kind of see how accurate you are, you know, because one thing people pay attention to or they really think about is that when you're out in the real world and you're shooting, I mean, you don't want to miss, but if you miss, you're still going to be accountable for those rounds. So shooting paper, it kind of really lets you be true to yourself because you can see specifically where you're hitting on the target. And then also if you ever get into competition shooting, a lot of competition shooting is on paper. And the reason why is because they score your target. There's a target and there's different zones, the A zone, the B zone, the C zone. In different places on the target, different zones have different rewards and penalties. And that'll be like a whole nother gun talk episode where I talk about some competition shooting. So kind of going back to running and gunning, I mean, I just love it, man. I love it. It's nothing like shooting outside, being in the elements, and it put a different dynamic on things. If you are a red dot shooter like myself, shooting a red dot on an indoor range and then going outside, man, it's totally different. And then there's other things you can get into as far as like the intensity of the dot. Because some dots don't have the brightness that you need when you're outside, you know? And it's let's say your dot isn't that bright, but you might be shooting with shades on so you can kind of see. But then you got to ask yourself, you know, if I carry this gun and the only way I can see the dot is when I got on shades, how often are you carrying this gun and you might be in a scenario where you don't have no shades on? So will you be able to see the dot? You know, will you be able to put rounds on target? Are you going to be accountable for all those rounds? So like shooting outside, I mean, I really let you put all that together, you know? So I would say go outside, and then it's kind of like back to those on the fly scenarios. I may be shooting with shades on, or I may be shooting with a clear lens and nothing tinted, having intensity low, have intensity high, shooting iron sights, and just kind of practicing and moving, shooting and moving, running different scenarios in my head. And it kind of, like I said, it's like that culminating event. Everything that you think about, everything that you train, everything that you practice, and kind of like putting it all together and seeing what you got. So I think that's where it's at, you know? So anyone that wants to get into shooting outside, shooting on the move, running and gunning, like I said, I'd highly encourage you to do it. It really lets you put things into perspective as far as where you at, things you need to work on, and how you're going to improve. Because, I mean, it's all about getting better and putting those rounds on target. So, I mean, that kind of concludes the Gun Talk episode 1. Not too long, just kind of sweet, kind of short, like myself. But anyway, I need you guys to like the page, subscribe, follow me, and we'll bring you more. I got some more footage for you on the way out. Talk to you guys later.
Is it a minute?